Welcome into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Avalanche podcast, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. All of the news from yesterday that we didn't get to cover because we were doing a mock draft, we get to talk about today. Also, probably some of today's news as well. For the Avs, the big deal there is the signing of Casey Mittelstadt, which we'll get to. Before we jump into the Avs stuff, a handful of other things to talk about around the league, including a couple of trades. One of the pie in the sky targets potentially for a trade for the Colorado Avalanche this year. Linus Ullmark ends up getting moved to Ottawa for a first-round pick and a couple of guys.
A couple of guys.
Yeah.
Notice Korpisalo so quickly went from one of the big deadline acquisitions
to like a depth goaltender.
A couple of guys.
Yeah.
God, that happened fast.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like 18 months.
Here's my thing. Does Ullmark really make a ton of sense for Ottawa?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he makes sense because they need to figure something out at that position. Korpisalo clearly wasn't it.
So you're talking, this is like an extension situation for
Well, this
him.
is a let's see how he does in Ottawa. Let's see how this relationship goes situation. And if it goes really well, then we're set.
Okay.
For a couple of years, you know, then I think it's fine. I don't mind the Ullmark thing from the Sens' perspective, from Boston's perspective. If obviously everybody's drilled this deal, it feels like they're selling low, but their leverage there was so limited because he'd already vetoed a deal and he wasn't necessarily going to sign an extension anywhere he went. So, you know, they get a goaltender that they might be able to do something with in Korpisalo. They get a first-round pick, which everybody always likes, and then they get a fourth-line center, which they didn't really need.
Yeah, I think Boston did as fine as you could reasonably expect for a guy that you knew was on the move.
I was surprised at like this deal is so terrible for Boston. It's not great, but like there are so many leverage problems in that deal. Everybody in the league knew you were moving that guy.
Your other option is play out the string with a dude and get nothing. So
yeah, and
there you go. Is that better?
you also are trying to do right by a player.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a big part of management that we don't talk about very much. That Eric, you know all about. Sometimes you're trying to do right by a player, and it's not about what is the absolute best deal where I can extract maximum value. Sometimes you just you get a decent enough return, and you move on. You put a guy in a position that he can go and do what's good for his career too.
I like what Stales and company are doing because there's been an issue in the crease there, right? I mean, like they've been one of those teams where people are like, oh, this year. Well, it hasn't happened. You know what I mean? And they cleared house, coaches, management, staff. Stales comes in, and I don't care what people say. Like, you need some goaltending in this league at some point, you know? And then that was with Markstrom, probably the two guys that were, and Jake Allen at the deadline, right? You're talking about some experienced goaltenders. Didn't take too long, right? Markstrom found a taker in Jersey, and then Ottawa right away just go, oh, we're not messing around with this, and then they go and get Ullmark. Be interesting to see Ullmark with somebody else than Swayman. You know what I mean? Because it was a true tandem, and they relied on each other's. I don't think there was anything fake about it. They truly cared for one another, and they pushed each other to be better, and they both wanted the crease. But at the end of the day, they both didn't play that many games. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Can this guy, is that what he is? Or, you know, who's going to be with him in Ottawa, right?
Anton Forsberg.
That's what I mean. So the guy that...
Not quite Jeremy Swayman.
That's, you know...
Yeah.
It's not the level of Swayman, right? So at some point, you know, we'll see what he's truly made of. And, you know... And the Bruins have always been well coached and always been, you know, like they.
This is my thing with the Olmark is when he was in Buffalo, they gave him every opportunity to try and be the guy, and he
wasn't ready.
Like he was fine.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think he was bad, and think he was amazing.
Yeah.
He gets to Boston. They clearly do very well with goaltenders there, so their goalie coaching is excellent.
Goalie Bob.
But their infrastructure there continues to be wonderful.
So
Now he's going to go to a place where they're going to ask him to be the man for a year, and he's going to have to be a 50 games guy on a team where he's not just a don't lose it for us type of dude. It's you're going to need to win us games.
Yep.
And they were saying that it might flip. I don't know what's true to that. And they might flip Korpisalo and whoever to Edmonton for something that would involve Draisaitl. So that was the hot rumor this morning. Do I believe it?
No.
No.
Not for a second.
Not for a second either. So, but anyway, because a lot of people in Boston, I was reading the comments there, talking about fans, like not happy about Korpisalo, coming in and, because he makes a fairly amount, and I know that.
Yeah, he's an expensive backup.
And I mean, they're what is it, $1 million? I think Ottawa's paying out of the 4, something like that, give and take, something like that. But he still becomes fairly he still becomes fairly expensive for the Bruins, and that's why people were. And again, people always complain, so. And then you do nothing, like you said, and all of a sudden, like, no, he never does anything, you can't win, right? So
it is an expensive backup, though. $3 million for a team that they need to find
some cap space.
They're staring down the barrel of Jake DeBrusk leaving.
Yeah,
they've got to try and find some center depth.
Yep.
What's up, Ross Colton? He could be your 1C. Give us that 25th pick,
Oof, he cannot be your 1C. I love Ross Colton.
I said the same thing about Pavel Zacha, and it went great.
For 1 year.
It went reasonably well.
good player.
It did not go great.
Yeah.
Not a 1C. Good player, not a 1C.
Exactly.
Put him next to Pasternak.
Anyone can be a 1C next to that guy. Just pass him the puck.
That's what I'm saying. Just pass
Yaya could get an assist. God, with Pasternak.
I cannot.
Yeah, you could.
Yaya's. We just talked on the Rockies thing about Yaya being JJ Weatherholt, and now we're talking about him being a 1C next to David Pasternak.
Living the good life.
Yeah, Yaya's a multi-sport athlete today.
When you wear an Expos hat, that's what happens. Magical.
You become defunct pretty quick when you wear a hat like that.
Oh, thanks, really. Appreciate you, brother.
He's actually Youpie.
UP can give Gritty a run, I'll tell you that.
Nah, Gritty 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, he's psychotic. He's nuts.
The other trade made, well, of significance at least, Detroit giving away Jake Wallman with a second-round pick to the San Jose Sharks.
That's the second-round pick that they got in the Nashville deal immediately before, right?
Yep.
So they acquire a second-round pick to give it away to San Jose with Jake Wallman for free. Weird deal.
And, I know there's rumors floating around that they're freeing up cap to do free agency stuff, but, Jake Wallman had 21 points in 62 games last year. It's not like this was a completely invaluable player, or unvaluable player, I should say. You had to give up a second to give him away?
Yeah, and he was... So, what makes this weird to me... After that deal, Detroit has $32.7 million of cap space.
It's not like they desperately needed that extra 2.4 mil.
Exactly. You gave a second-round pick away just for that. There wasn't a team out there that would have said,
just give us Jake Wallman.
We'll
we don't
just
need
take
a
Jake
second.
Wallman, man. We don't need the second-round pick. If it's between not getting the player and getting the player, to me, that seems so strange because Jake Wallman only makes $3.4 million.
Yep.
And it's 2 years left on the deal.
Yep.
I know he had a down year, but what the
It wasn't that down.
Right. And I'm sure Detroit is gearing up for something huge.
Yep.
I keep telling Eric it's going to be Stamkos and Gensel and Zadorov. And Gibson.
That would be a lot.
I mean, that's fun.
Gearing up for something, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
But
Unless he did something stupid. I don't know.
But the difference,
I'm talking about
you're not able to
Wallman,
do something big if you have $28 million in cap space versus 32. And again, you paid a second round pick to give him away completely.
That's what I mean. Did he do something? I
This
don't
is
know.
the time of year where you don't worry so much about a contract for a contract or whatever.
Yep.
You could just, the guy's decent enough. You could. It's so weird to me.
I also don't trust Mike Greer at all, so I'm like, is that future considerations going to be something crazy in like 2 months?
It's a baseball future consideration where it's like this future consideration is actually a list of 3 names and that's their 3 top prospects.
You can pick which one you give us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So strange. It's such a strange deal for San Jose. You're like, all right, they're taking a shot on a decent defenseman, signed for 2 more years and a reasonable number, and they get a second round pick. They now have 3 second round picks.
Yeah,
this weekend.
Makes total sense from San Jose's side. No problems with
Or
it.
Stevie Watt doesn't like the gritty. That's it. I mean,
There it is.
I bet that is true, but to give a second round pick away for that is questionable management.
Not signing Zadorov then if he doesn't like the gritty.
Yeah, that is true.
has he done that?
No, but
He
Z
did it to
does-
make fun of Wallman.
Yeah, Z. You know how
that's
Z
right.
is.
Yeah.
If it's not the gritty today, it's gonna be something else tomorrow. As you know,
Yeah.
it's always something with Big Z. It's what makes him lovable.
Oh, it's great.
So, a weird one, to say the least. I just don't follow the plan of, did you really have to do this at all, let alone right now?
Well, and you have to think, if it really is a John Gibson deal, Ville Husso goes the other
I
way,
would
right?
think so, yeah.
Ville Husso's still making $4 million. You're still talking about you're only adding $2 million to your cap.
Yeah.
How much money are you about to give Steven Stamkos?
Or
Even if
Z.
you gave him $10 million,
I
you still have 23 to go.
that's what forget the Wallman deal. They had what, 28 million?
Yeah, roughly.
You give Stamkos 12.
That's a lot of money for a guy his age.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to get that. You give Stamkos 12, you give Gensel what, 9?
So Sider is an RFA, like an unsigned RFA, so he'll need a new deal.
Yeah, but if you give Stamkos 12 and Gensel 9, you still have 7 million left. And I know they probably have other guys to sign. I haven't dug that deep into Detroit, but my point being, there's no way that 2 million is that gets us over the line.
Well, and for you to know that today, what the fuck are we talking about with this tampering
How
stuff?
tampered have things been?
Goodness.
I don't know.
This is some true tampering. If they know already, we're gonna need that 3.4 million from Jake Wallman. We're gonna need to give that away.
Also, if you're a team in Detroit's spot pushing up against the cap, you better make the playoffs.
Yeah, and deciding to give away Jake Wallman while keeping
Some
Justin
of that
Hull.
defense is questionable.
Yeah,
at
Jeff
best.
Petrie.
Yeah. I feel like that one might just be dead cap for them at this point, to be fair. But
Yeah, and again, they paid to get rid of a dude.
they did.
They didn't just give him away because it's like, oh, maybe the team didn't want Jeff Petrie, but you paid a second round pick to get rid of Jake Wallman, who was on your first pairing 2 years ago. It's so weird to me.
You're asking me to explain something that can't be explained.
Yeah, Sider and Raymond. So Raymond also needs a new deal. Cool, but that's still
That's not going to be that much.
$32
Yeah.
million is a lot of freaking cap space.
Even if they both make 8, that's half of it.
Yeah.
You still have 16 million left to do what you want.
You still have 10 to go give it to Stamkos,
and they're not both going to get 8.
They're signing
Yeah.
Yager. That's what they're doing.
I wonder where. I wonder where those guys do come in. Because Sider had a great rookie year and has not been nearly as good since then.
And Raymond has been wildly inconsistent.
Yeah,
so.
coming off his best season.
Yeah,
on the
he went down.
on the uptick. I could see that guy getting 7.
Yeah.
I think 7's
seven's
probably where
about
you should
right,
start.
yeah.
Honestly. Anyway, whatever. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
do your
you're
thing.
good. Either way, maybe, look, I usually talk about the future being bright, but if you're Detroit, maybe you put the sunglasses on to pretend you don't see that trade that they just made. All right? Makes your vision a little darker and you just look away from that thing. Go get your sunglasses with shady rays. You've certainly needed them in Colorado. with all this hot sun we've been getting out here. They have over 300,000 people rating them 5 stars or more for all of their amazing polarized sunglasses. Obviously, hundreds of options to choose from. There's a type of sunglasses for everyone. You'll find one you like, I promise, when it comes to Shady Rays. They even have different colors for the polarization. So if you want to like rep a little bit of Avs blue, you can do that on your sunglasses. The coolest part, though, when you get a pair from Shady Rays, if you don't like them, you break them or you lose them in the first 30 days, they'll replace them entirely for free. So if you're like my dad when I was little and had little kids running around breaking all of his stuff, Shady Rays got your back. Put it to you that way. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. You can head to shadyrays.com today and use code DNVR to get 35% off all polarized sunglasses. Again, go try for yourself the sunglasses rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And once you got your sunglasses on, make sure you're going over to Bet365 and seeing all the shiny, good bets you can make with them. Tons of options over there, of course, including the DNVR bet that we throw out every so often. Our guy Dre putting bets out there. And the coolest part is when you sign up with code DNVR365 and deposit $10, you can get either a $5 bet on anything, gets you $150 in bonus bets, or you can get your first bet safety net of up to $1,000. When your qualifying bet loses, you get that money back in bonus bets. Jump on it with Bet365. Tons of great bonuses and same-game parlays and all sorts of awesome stuff with them. Of course, when you do sign up with that DNVR365 code, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. The other major news note not related to the Avs is the 2024 Hall of Fame class officially announced. It includes Natalie Darwitz, Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick, Shea Weber, Chrissy Winden. I can't read the name. Poland? I don't know. Sorry, whoever you are.
Nice.
I've not brushed up on my Hall of Fame names. And Colin Campbell and David Poile in the Builders category. That is a Hall of Fame class of all time.
I thought Roenick would get in just because of Turgeon getting in last year. You know what I mean? I thought that was, similar profiles, right? Guys, and again, they always look at that criteria. Never won a Stanley Cup, never won a major award, but 1,200 points is a lot of friggin' points. I think it's the only guy. Last year, Turge was like 1,300 points. The only guy with 1,300 points not in the Hall of Fame. And then you knew that Roenick was probably getting in this year, which I think he deserves to be in. I'm glad he got in. Different character, obviously. Yep. Polarizing guy, but always follows career from high school. It's kind of nice. And then David Poile, good people, great. Colin Campbell. I was just surprised. I'm not saying Weber's not a Hall of Famer. I just, first ballot. I don't know. There's a lot of guys that have been waiting for a while, and
no Alexander McGillney.
Yeah, I mean
that's the one that eats away at me.
Yeah,
the only one.
I mean Steve Larmer, McGillney, Mike Richter. There's a lot of guys. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Weber doesn't deserve it. That's not what I'm saying. I wouldn't have thought he was going to be a first ballot. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Great player, loved him. I mean,
I think he could have been a first ballot if he was healthier in his career.
Yeah,
but
especially
at the end of it, just too injured.
He is.
Yeah, I mean he is one now. I guess that's fair. That's just a fact now.
All right, good for him.
I was a little surprised to see his name too.
Datsyuk was so good. I mean,
I also just don't ever think about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think about it when they announce the names, and then I go back to not thinking about it.
I especially don't think about it when they do it the week of the draft to end free agency, when they condense the entire offseason schedule into 8 days.
Yep.
And 8 days is being generous. It's more like 5. So which I just don't get. I don't get, why is this announced now? Why can't you do this on July 10th and give these people their proper shine, where shows like us, all we do all day is talk about them.
Yep.
And instead, we're just going to move on because we have other things to get to.
Yeah. Had you announced this mid-July, we'd do an entire show on it. Like,
Exactly.
Instead, neat.
Yeah, congrats to everybody that gets in.
Yep.
Eric was a big thing for your family
Last
last
year
year.
was awesome.
You know how amazing it is and what that means to more than just the player, but I should say the person that gets in.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, it's great. I mean, the way they do it, and then Lanny McDonald and Mike Gardner, those guys are pure class. And I saw the phone call they made to Roenick, and it looked like Roenick was panicking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but
No,
he
I
was just like, "You're kidding me! You're kidding me!" Like, and Mike, it's such a straightforward guy. He's like, "No, Jeremy, we don't kid with this kind of stuff," and he's like, "No way, no way," and then they were like, "Are you laughing or are you crying?" He's like, No, but I'm crying, but I still don't believe it. It was kind of nice. It's
That's
kind of
fun.
human. It's fun, and
Yeah.
it's
that'd be
always,
a mean prank to play on somebody.
Oh, buddy,
that would not.
be
That's
wrong.
not like the funny one. That's like a this.
Like
is
you said, you
brutal.
don't look
Yeah.
into it. Like I have to say, the last few years, I was always looking for it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm gonna get the phone call, right? The guys will tell you like, yeah, I mean, you make sure your phone's charged and it's in your pocket, then you're kind of like, reachable.
for it
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in case, So I think JR was caught off guard, and it was pretty cool to see him, like.
Experience that moment.
And he's got
Yeah.
emotions. We all know that. He's good for the game. So I think whatever. Like I said, like him or not, he's deserves to be in there. What is he, number 2 all time points U.S. born player? Right, 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Is it Kane
don't
with
know.
them?
Pavelski, I don't know anymore.
Honestly,
I
don't
mean-
even know. But he was one of those guys. He's
Oh
right
yeah,
there.
I mean he's
His career, I think, just got overshadowed a little bit
Yep.
because he played in an era with it was the end of Gretzky and
Yeah,
then
and
Mario
Sakic
and then
and-
Yager and Sakic and
Forsberg
Forsberg
and all those guys.
and then the dynasties. It was kind of like the tri-dynasty with Colorado, Detroit, New Jersey, where they just dominated the
And he
entire
wasn't
league
Dallas.
winning any of those
for
yeah.
so long. Yeah, and he just how many great players had to take back seats
Yep.
in the championship conversation because those 3 franchises just
We're winning them all.
just continued because even though the Avs only won 2, they made 7 conference finals
Yeah.
in 8 years, something like that. Like it was unbelievable.
Yep.
You know what happens when you make the conference final every year? The other teams don't.
yeah.
It's Dallas and it was Colorado and it was Detroit out west and it was New Jersey and a
in
bunch of
east.
pretenders out east.
I remember it was
Not a lot of room for the other stars to shine.
post lockout too, like league was all about generating revenue, and guys were going to be more out there and learn more about them, and you're going to have to put yourself out there. I don't know if you guys saw that at the Frozen Face Off or whatever it was called, Frozen Fury, whatever it was back then between us and LA and
Frozen Fury.
Frozen Fury, and then at MGM during a TV timeout, and then he starts dancing. Like, if you guys ever see that?
No.
You gotta
No.
Google that. You're gonna die. He starts dancing at a TV timeout. Like he put his gloves on the bench and his stick, and then he just started dancing. Like it's unbelievable, and everyone's like, just like, what is going on here? Like now, when I say dancing, like he's dancing mid game.
Yeah.
It is a preseason game, but still, like it's freaking unreal. He did take warm up one time, and he was like, I think he was dressed like Bobby Clark, his GM, and I think during warm up, and his GM was like, Clark was in the press box, and he noticed, he's like, yeah, the no tooth and the friggin', anyway, colorful guy.
Funny guy.
Datsuk, what a player! I mean, geez, you talk about like playing the right way. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
I didn't ever want to give him flowers because I hated the.
I know.
I just hate
What a
Detroit.
freaking
But, oh
player.
my god!
What is he? A 7th round pick, 6th round pick?
It was some late
Yeah, it
round
was
something. Yeah.
What a find that is!
You go from Fedorov to Datsuk. You just have these unbelievable defensive forwards who are also incredible on offense. By the way, oh
Listen,
my god!
amazing players, amazing.
The Datsuk one is the weird one for me because I'm a believer in the Hall of Fame should just, if a guy's going to get in, just let him in. Like when Datsuk's NHL career ended, everyone knew he was going to the Hall of Fame. Like,
Yeah, the waiting period is something that it's like, oh, you have
Because
to
he
be
was playing in Europe, right?
retired
Yeah.
3 years or whatever.
4 years.
you
So
go
who
play in some
cares?
European league that's, and like, no disrespect to the European leagues. It's just like, just let him into the Hall of Fame and he can play in the European league. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like,
Like Yager, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Of course, that opens up the, it turns into the slippery slope thing of, well, can we let McDavid in right now?
Sure, who cares?
Okay.
He's gonna get in. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Doesn't matter if he gets in tomorrow or 10 years from now. Like,
I think time helps when you move away from a player's career.
whatever. I'm not saying that every dude should get in the second his career ends or whatever, or during his career, but there are a handful of guys that it's like, yeah, those dudes are Hall of Famers. Like, it doesn't matter. McDavid being one of them.
He's pretty good.
Not good enough to win a cup, though.
Not yet.
I was pretty adamant about this, but let me ask you guys. Did he deserve the Conn Smythe?
I'll go for it. Absolutely. I mean, for me, listen, he put up incredible numbers. What is it? 17 people have voted on it. 16 first place votes. I mean, how can everybody be wrong? You know what I mean? Like, listen, he put up absolutely incredible numbers. Yeah, did he deliver Game 6? No, but it's the body of work that was there. And listen, do I feel bad for Barkov or Bobrovsky or whoever could have been? You know, I don't like it when it's for the losing team. I don't like it. I think it's such an incredible trophy to win, and I think even though the Stanley Cup's right there, like, it should go to the winning team. You know, I just.
That's what the Stanley Cup's for. The Stanley Cup goes to the winning team.
I remember talking to Jiggy about that because he was the last guy before McDavid, right, Jigger? And I remember him saying, like, it was just kind of weird, you know, because you're just, like, so disappointed and you're really there and you're like, your team's in the locker room and the other guys are all
didn't
pumped.
Even come out and get it.
No, I was watching live and I'm like, there's no way he's coming out.
We were talking about it like.
Oh, I was with you. Yeah. I was like,
no way he comes to get
I'm like,
that
there's no
thing.
way he comes and gets it. I wouldn't come out. Like, not a chance. Not a chance. I respect the game and everything. It's just a weird setting, you know what I mean, to get that trophy.
Yeah.
If you're not on the winning team. So
I don't deny that it's a weird setting, but you have a guy who finished fourth all time in a playoff run for points.
Yeah.
You have a guy who literally set the NHL record for a playoff run in assists. Mm-hmm. The best team is the best team. The best team doesn't have to have the best player on it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm because it really annoys me, the argument of, like, if he was playoff MVP, he'd have scored a point in the last 2 games or whatever. And it was like, okay, but if Bob was playoff MVP, then he wouldn't have gotten lit up for 3 games in a row in the playoffs, right? Like, if Barkov was playoff MVP, he would have done this differently or that differently.
Series
like,
would have ended in 4.
Exactly.
Also, if McDavid was an MVP, the Oilers lose in the second round. Like
exactly.
Like, he was all time great in this playoff run.
Yep.
Which I think, from an Oilers perspective, haunts me. You had an all-time great performance from your PK. You have an all-time Connor McDavid
you still
run.
Couldn't win it. Yeah.
And you lose. You still can't get the thing done.
Yeah.
What do you have? What more could you possibly ask for? I just don't. I don't have a problem with McDavid winning it. He was the guy.
Yep.
If there was a guy on the other side that you looked at and said, this guy was incredible for the Panthers, then sure, there's an easier argument. But there wasn't a clear-cut choice after how everything had gone. If they had won it in 4 or 5,
Bob probably gets it.
It's Bobrovsky and Barkov, and they probably split votes, and whichever guy comes out on top comes out on top. But the only reason that thing got to 7 games is McDavid was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He backpacked them, and I just...
I got no problem with it.
It's an all-time great postseason performance. I have no issue. And if I'm him, I don't ever touch it. I said yesterday, I'm buying a storage unit, and I'm putting that thing in it, and that's the only thing that goes in it. I would never look at it. It wouldn't be in a trophy case of mine. I would never acknowledge that Conn Smythe if I'm Connor McDavid. Just on a personal level, absolutely not. I would never look at it.
I guarantee you he doesn't care about it at all.
Two most painful moments of his career happened on right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That Conn Smythe being awarded to him after a Game 7 loss, and the draft lotto in 2015. Those, like, you could just see how horrible that was, and I just from that perspective, from that part of it, I was like, don't give it to him because you put him in an impossible situation.
Yeah.
But he earned that. He was unreal in that playoff.
Fun fact, same thing happened to him in the OHL. Lost in the OHL finals, got the MVP award.
And didn't accept it.
No, he
or-
accepted it, but
He learned with it. He was like, I'm never doing that again.
yeah,
Exactly.
No way. Game 7, he was not invisible. There's no way you can make the argument he was invisible. If Leon Draisaitl could shoot a goddamn puck, Edmonton ties that game up in the second period.
Yep.
Connor McDavid was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
This is a crazy argument because people say, oh, he was invisible in game 6 and 7. It should go to Barkov, as if Barkov didn't disappear for the last 3 games for Florida.
They're the best players in the world, man. Like, somebody's going to shine. Somebody's not going to shine. It's not going to be every freaking second. And, my argument was not like that he shouldn't have won. I think he should have won. Like I said, I don't think 17 people out of 18 are wrong. You know what I mean? But my only argument was maybe it has to be on the winning team for whatever reason. I mean, I think
that's a dumb argument.
If you
It
just,
is dumb. I'm not saying
change
it's
it to
not, yeah.
the team that wins is the one who gets the MVP, I'm good with that.
That's
If you
not the
actually
rules, though.
just
No,
I'm
I know,
saying,
I know.
If you just make that change so that something like this can't happen, then
it
great.
doesn't happen. It happens 3 times in the last 50 years. So
Yeah,
it
has
just
not-
sucks when it happens if
it's-
you're the guy.
it's not a
Because
big
it's
deal.
a tough way to accept
Yeah.
It is a major trophy. It is a freaking major trophy. That means you kicked ass, you showed up in the toughest time of the year, and you produced and you delivered, So it's a sick trophy to win, It's just the setting is tough, you know what I mean?
no way.
In any case,
I'm just saying. I agree with you. I just mean I wouldn't touch that thing if I'm him. Ever.
No,
I would donate it to the Hall of Fame and be like, I don't.
well, it's just
this.
a bad memory, right? Because it's
exactly.
like, I won it, but we lost.
Yeah, that thing's got
There's
stink
no
all
I
over
in
it.
team.
It's got
Well,
the Corey Perry curse.
whether he's touched it or not, it's still under his roof. And make sure your roof isn't leaking with Red Hawk Roofing. Protect all of those fancy
How's your
trophies.
roof?
It's good. It's fully done. It's all replaced. All the hail damage is gone. Thanks to Red Hawk Roofing. Now we just have to deal with all of our deck and all the other hail damage stuff that we have. But Red Hawk Roofing has your back when it comes to everything roof. You don't even have to pay them to get an inspection. It's completely free. They'll come out, they'll get up on your roof, they'll take pictures, they'll show you what's going on up there. Get with them at very least for that. And if there is damage, they can get it all sorted out for you. The coolest part of all of this being that they're available 24/7. So even if you're slacking and you don't get the inspection, but damage does happen, you can get a hold of them at any time, and they can come out and get you all fixed up. So go get with them. There are 2 options for weather in Colorado: way too hot or way too much hail. That's it. That's the 2 weather options we get, at least out on the east side of Denver. I can tell you that much. Either way, Red Hawk Roofing will get it done for you. Support your local teams and your local businesses, as Red Hawk Roofing is a Colorado business. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, go check them out at redhawkroofing.com or call at 720-771-8921 and tell them DNVR sent you. And once you've got that brand new roof over your house, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can go take yourself a little bit of a vacation with Circa Resorts and Casinos. Make sure you get over with Circa Resorts and Casinos. Get with them. Make sure it's fun time. Go to Stadium Swim. We're going to be there for the NHL draft, enjoying all of the amenities, including a 7,000 square foot casino, a 3-story sports book, and tons more to offer when it comes to Circa. They have over 500 rooms with a bunch of different varieties that you can get in on, so they have a room for everyone, and it's just a grand old time down at Circa in Vegas. It's the place to stay. And when you go to circasports.com and use code DNVR20, you can get 20% off your stay with Circa It's just a great deal. Go get with him. Circasports.com. Book your stay today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast.
I just want one last.
Go ahead.
This argument from Chad about Bob doesn't get the benefit of the doubt for a few bad games, but McDavid's games 1 through 3 get ignored.
Right.
Connor McDavid had an all-time great postseason. Sergei Bobrovsky did not. He was not having an all-time great postseason. He was not in the middle of that. He was having a really good one, and without it playing out the way that it did, he's, I think, for me, the easy Conn Smythe winner for the Panthers. But that's not how it went.
Yep.
And Connor McDavid had an all-time great playoffs.
Yep.
Am I overlooking games 6 and 7? Yes.
Again,
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
Florida was the better team in game 6 and 7. Game 7 at least.
Yeah. They deserve to win.
They did. They get a big old trophy. The one the McDavid would probably much rather have.
Yeah.
Just went to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, we can move on and actually talk about Avalanche things. Yesterday, Casey Mittelstadt signed by the Colorado Avalanche, $5.75 for 3 years. I'll let you guys go first. Thoughts on the deal? Initial thoughts?
I think it's fine. You know, we talked about it a little bit around the office yesterday.
Yep.
It's a little high, but Colorado probably said we want 5.5, and Mittelstadt probably said we want 6.
Yep.
You end up at 5.75. Like, that's fair negotiation. Both sides are going to be a little uncomfortable. So I feel like both sides are a little uncomfortable, but both sides ultimately are going to get what they want for the next 3 years.
Yep.
And with an opportunity to continue the relationship beyond that if they want.
And you knew what they were going to be settling at. You know, when you make that trade at that time for Byron, right? You know, I mean, there's, you know what you're doing. Obviously, Casey had arb rights and all that kind of stuff. So you know what the case is going to settle in at, like AJ just said. You know what I mean? If you go in asking 5.5, team will ask that or whatever. You go in asking for 6, it's going to settle around 5.75. Avs knew, Mittelstadt knew, the agent knew. They all knew it was going to be right around that number. I think it was more some discussions and how do we want to go about this? Is it term? Is it, is it 3 years? Is it 5 years, 4 years, 1 year? Whatever it is, right? That was going to be. I think that they kind of had an idea too, you know what I mean, before, making that deal. I'm sure, CMAC asked Adams, you know what I mean? Well, what's the agent been saying? And, and again, unless the team gives you permission to talk to the agent, which I'm sure they did on that type of deal, but because it is a hockey trade, right? Two guys that are in the same kind of boat. But you kind of know what the ARB case is going to settle in at. And then once you make the trade, I'm sure they've been in discussion. Let's see what happens. And then let's think. And you let us know what you want lengthwise, term-wise. This is what we're thinking. And I think it was a fairly easy discussion. I think that it's not about, when it comes down to this, that's why I'm always firm about my comments on these. It's not what you think you're going to get. It's not what the team thinks they're going to get. It's all done like through lawyers and everything and ARB cases. You know exactly what you're going to come out at us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think the number, they've known what that number was going to be, the player and the team, you know what I mean, the last few months. So they took the time to get it done this week, and it's all done.
I really have no problem with the dollar number. From the Avs perspective, I'm a little disappointed that it's only 3 years.
Do you get why, though?
I totally get. From the player's perspective, the cap's going to be at $100 million when that contract ends. Casey's
No-brainer
not
for
an
him.
idiot. He's going to want to get paid.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. Still would have loved that 4th year from a team perspective, though.
Of course. I mean, you would have loved this thing to be 6 years at 5.75,
Yes.
but it would just
7 years, 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, but why would you do that as a player, right?
Yep.
now he's going to spend the next 3 years in for an offensively prolific team.
Yep.
put in great situations where he's going to be able to produce the kinds of points that are going to get him paid. And that 5.75 is going to turn into 8.75 3 years down the road because the salary structure is about to completely change.
Yep.
Well, he built his last couple years building himself to this RFA number, which you see right now. And then those next 3 years, he's going to bet on himself, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
build himself his own UFA case, right? And that's what he's doing. You know what I mean? So that's kudos on the player, kudos on C-Mac and the team for, agreeing to that and saying, well, you know what? We're both going to be winners at that time. Hopefully we have a Stanley Cup to our pedigree, and we'll cross the bridge at that time, see where you're at.
Yeah.
And if it means you walk because you're a UFA and you've built yourself a good case and you're going to go make a shit ton of more money, then great. You know what I mean? And for us, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what we can do at that time and see if we can match that,
What I found interesting is going through the comparable deals on Cap Friendly. I better enjoy while I can.
You got like 4 days of that. Wow.
Yeah.
Like 10 days of that left.
It's really wild to me that none of the contract comparables are centers.
Yep. They're
None-
all wings.
None of them. And the most recent one, Adrian Kempe in 2022, was a 4-year deal. But Adrian Kempe hadn't really had
His breakout yet.
that like big breakout that he had. And so I found that also interesting. And this list of comparables is some of these have gone really well and some of these were total train wrecks.
Yep.
Adrian Kempe, Jakub Vrana, Andrew Mangiapane.
He went dry, man.
Yeah, he has a 30-goal season, gets paid, and then immediately goes back to the guy he was before the 30-goal season. Like, it's a good player getting paid like a really good player. That's tough. Pavel Buchnevich,
That's the one that I think
that has gone really
Yeah.
well. Adrian Kempe and Pavel Buchnevich have gone well. Alex Galchenyuk, ugh.
If you go back a little bit deeper, I think there was Brian Rust Steele on there too.
Brock Besser, Anthony Mantha, Andre Burakovsky, Tyler Toffoli, Tomas Tatar in 2017.
Yeah, not current.
Marcus Johansson, Anthony Beauvillier, Sam Reinhart. Like, it's all over the place. Some of these are big misses, and some of these are big time hits.
Yep.
And I think and none of these are centers. None of them.
Sam Reinhart used to pretend to be a center.
Right. He's about to get paid as a wing. And
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Maybe that's what Detroit's doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's because, historical comparables drive a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But this deal, the Avs kind of go out on their own here. And I'd be willing to bet, I don't know this for sure, but I'd be willing to bet that if you look up center contract comparables, they're higher.
They are. I know because I did it.
I'm glad you did your homework. I was doing Rocky's homework.
Yeah, the centers, you start seeing guys get into the 6'2", 6'5".
Yeah.
Even 7, but those are longer deals, like 5-6 years.
For
but-
Colorado, I think Colorado gets a deal on the AAV here because they're willing to let him test the market at 28. And they're willing to say, hey, if you have an unbelievable 3 years here and we win a Stanley Cup and we're in a position financially to continue this relationship, great.
If not, go have fun.
You will still be in your prime and whatever. And if not, then we will have to figure this out.
Yep.
Okay, great. Like, that's not a bad position to be in. Your second line center job is done for the next 3 years. You're just done.
Yep.
We've spent the last 2 years talking about it endlessly.
Yeah.
And to the point where we would come in to do this show and we would be like, let's talk about Ryan Johansson today. Like it was so dumb and exhausting. And now we don't have to do that. And I wrote this in my piece about the signing that released today. The Avalanche are done. They're 1 and 2 and at the moment 3 C's. All first through third line. Your centers are signed for the next 3 years minimum. Signed.
Yep.
Your top 4 defensemen are all signed through the next 2 years minimum. And your 1 and 2 goalies are signed for this upcoming season. But when you're walking into an offseason of how much money do we have to spend, we don't really know. That's a good base to work from. You don't have very much money. but you have a good base to work from. It's really not a bad position to be in. Now you have wings and things that you need to start to sort out. Yes.
Oh, you got those 2 cases, right?
Yeah.
Look, it's the same conversation when you're in a room naked with someone. You need a good base to work from. And that's where Manscaped comes in. It's smooth sack summer, fellas. Get with it. Let's go here.
Who was the employee? Who was the employee who was just sitting, who's working for Manscaped and is sitting at their desk trying to write this copy and was like,
goes on.
smooth sack summer, baby. Let's do this. Some good alliteration. Alliteration is always catchy. It's good marketing.
It is. And Manscaped has their new 5.0 Ultimate Package to make sure your package is looking nice and smooth. Get the lawnmower trimmer. Get their other options as well, whether it be deodorant, toner, shampoo. They even have a nose hair trimmer. Whatever you're looking for, it's not just below the belt. Manscaped has you covered head to toe.
I've used it.
I know.
The nose hair trimmer?
I've used all of the trimmers. They're all good.
Yeah, it's unreal how effective they all are. I'm just like, okay, this is great.
You get 20% off when you use code AVS over at manscaped.com today. Make sure you're getting with them and making yourself look however you want to look. Because you know what? At the end of the day, they just provide the tools to, carve a dragon into that thing if you want. I don't care. House of the Dragon, below the belt. We're good. Also brought to you by
Goblin Fiesta.
Coors Light. Don't recommend drinking Coors Light and then manscaping. Maybe the other way around. Manscape first on that one. But when you're chilling after the fact, make sure you grab yourself a Coors Light. The beer literally made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the can when you know it's nice and cold with you. Anytime you're relaxing, especially in this hot summer, you can sit out on the back deck and cool yourself off a little bit with a Coors Light. So get in with them. Make sure you're enjoying the beer brewed right here in Golden, Colorado, and the beer I reach for when I want to chill. Choose Coors Light and get it delivered straight to your front door with CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Thanks to Instacart, you don't even have to leave your house and go out into that heat. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Are we good on Mittelstadt? Should we move on to the rest of this conversation with the Avs?
I mean, what are our expectations right now with Mittelstadt? I mean, obviously that's tough because we don't know what the rest of the top 6 looks like.
60.
But so we had 59 points 2 years ago and 57 this last year in 82 versus 80 games. So he plays, first of all, you love that durability. But if he plays another 82 games, 60 is kind of where we want him to be.
Give me 60. Anything beyond that is gravy, especially if he keeps up the defensive metrics that he had over this last season, which were surprisingly good at 5-on-5 for Colorado.
When we talk about those, so thinking about those metrics, look, he sucks at faceoffs.
For sure.
So he's a perfect Av. But do we think that maybe the team should give him a look as their defensive zone, put him with Arturi Lehkonen?
Sure.
And then, we'll figure out the rest of the wings when we know who they are. But
Shut
put him with
down
Arturi
style,
Lehkonen, and put him, him up against top lines, and stop putting Nathan MacKinnon against opposing top lines because they suck defensively.
I'm certainly willing to try it in the regular season and go from there.
Yeah, just because Bednar's long been comfortable with best on best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that. That's cool. But I wonder if first, Casey Mittelstadt has to play more in Colorado.
Yeah.
You have got to give Nathan MacKinnon's line a bit of a break. A bit of a break. I'm not saying it's got to drop all the way down to 20, but if you can get it down to 22, 21, and have Mittelstadt be more like 17, 18, somewhere in there.
I agree. This is a team that has the luxury, certainly of the regular season, of being able to do those things and being okay.
Yeah, that's what the improved center depth should allow them.
Yep.
Right now, for the next 82 games that they play, that's what it should look like, in my opinion. You've got to balance it a little better.
he's got the right wings, you know what I mean? Not right wing, but the correct
Yeah.
wings. Don't be confused here. I think he pushes close to 70. I mean, I'm going to raise the expectations a little bit, 60 to 70. And I like him. I like the player. Really, really thought he was smart and elevated his play and wasn't afraid of the challenge of the playoffs for a guy that never played in the playoffs. So I like him. I like the trade at the time. I like it even more so now.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the contract. Again, we'll see what the wings are going to be, like with all the uncertainties there. But I think he can push towards 70, and he's going to be a great Av here in those next 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. Let's play a little stay or go.
Well, I
with
was
the rest
going
of
to,
them.
can we, because we're talking about the wings just really
Go
quickly.
ahead.
Jeff Skinner getting bought out initially without getting too deep into it, because I know we're going to get into something else right now, and you and I have tomorrow. We have a show
It's all
to talk
good.
about
Whatever
this.
you want to do, yeah.
But
Buy
Jeff-
out windows tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Skinner. It sounds like Jeff Skinner is for real getting bought out. He and Mittelstadt have history together. He and Landy have history together. Could be your cheap $1 million.
If a mill is good enough, sure. If he wants two,
You'll roll that dice.
probably not. But for a mill, sure.
Eric,
I've never been a fan.
no.
I'm not. I think he's a good player on a bad team. And I think it's exactly what he fits the bill is it never makes the playoffs. So he's a good player on a bad team.
So Skinner versus Kubalik.
I'd take Kubalik.
Kubalik probably too. Yeah.
Jesus. All right.
He's not going to get the good ice, man. I told you guys all the time. When you get the
I hear you.
shitburger
The thing
ice,
is,
it's tough.
I wouldn't. If it's for $1 million, I don't care because you can just bury the cap in. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like
Really helps to get top 6 choices right, though.
does.
No, it does. No, I'm not saying it's piss poor. I'm just saying.
Well, here's a top 6 choice for you. After the Mittelstadt deal, the Avs have about $10.5 million in space with Landy counting against the cap.
Yeah.
If you want to swap that for Nuke, it's more like 11.5. If you want both of them out, it becomes like 17.5. The Avs have a handful of UFAs.
Well, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm signing Jonathan Drouin and Jake Gensel. Fuck.
Well, let's start there. Stay or go. Jonathan Drouin for that
Stay.
top 6 spot.
Stay.
Okay.
Stay. Please stay.
I'll find a way.
Please, my guy. Stay.
I think we all agree on that one. The rest of the Avs forwards. Brandon Duhaime.
Stay.
Stay. I'm a fan.
Either way is fine. I'm not picky on that one.
That just has to be, it has to be $900K.
Yeah.
Like,
Yoel Kiviranta.
sure. Stay. Again, stay on a minimal deal where he's your 14th forward.
Sure. But I think Coach fell in love with him, so to speak.
Don't say that.
I think so. Hey, listen, he delivered.
I
As
worry
much
that
as
you're
I'm not.
correct, but I just don't want it to be the case.
He's just vanilla a little bit, but he's smart. And listen, he worked hard. I'll give him credit. I think coaches worked hard with him to bring him to be a useful, piece of the puzzle by the end of the year. So
Yeah.
kudos to that.
Yakov Trenin.
Go.
God, I'm a fan. And you know that.
I'd love to keep him, but not in the market that it sounds like he's going to
I think he's going to price himself out.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Kadri thing, you know what I mean? Like, of course, different numbers. I'm saying, but I think it's just, it just won't work. The number won't work here, and I think he'll be able to get that money somewhere else, and he'd be stupid not to take it.
Definitely. That is not a guy that can be like, I want to stay in Colorado.
Yeah.
No, dude. Somebody's
Look at
going to
the
give you $3 million a year.
Take
Go
the money.
Get
If
that.
someone gives him $3 million, that's on them at that point. Sean Walker.
Go.
I think they're gonna walk away from that one.
Again, probably just too expensive.
So I think Malinsky could,
Yeah.
fill in some shoes there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's if they had the money, I'd love to give him a real whirl, not next to Jack Johnson, but they just really don't have that money.
Yeah.
So
Caleb Jones.
He's fine as a 8 or 7 or whatever.
Stay or go though.
Like this is like a
That's why I
stay
stay.
if he wants to, and if the organization wants to, and they want $800,000, fine. But if it's a go, then they're just going to replace Caleb Jones with Shmaleb Hones for $800K.
That's how I feel about Kiviranta too.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Yeah, like it's those depth guys get shuffled in and out every year, and we always talk about them, but they're the exact same thing every single season.
I can't put Andrew Cogliani on this list because he officially retired. And
Go.
Well, he's staying in the org, so sorry, bud.
No, not Cogs. The next one.
Jack Johnson, yeah.
Go.
I mean, I'm way higher on him than you guys are. When I say that is, I'd like to have him as a 7th, you know what I mean? But he ends up playing all the time, and we all know why. We've talked about it many times on that show, and and I get it. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet, right? It's just like,
yeah.
You know, you're like, and I get it. It's fine. It's your blankie, you know what I mean? Like, so I get that. So,
totally, man.
He's a good person. He's a solid player, durable player. I mean,
you have to love the fact that he posts every day. I mean,
he does.
Andrew Cogliano sitting in the press box, tapping that seat right next to him for Jack Johnson.
Yeah, straight up.
I'll keep him. You guys can yell at me. I'll keep him as a 7th.
I see, and if he was going to be a 7, I honestly don't have a problem.
I know.
You know.
So my argument doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying.
You know he wouldn't be.
I know.
2 other as pieces: Freddie Olofsson.
Nah, move on.
Go.
And Brad Hunt.
Stay.
Again, he's your 8th. For me, he's your guy in Loveland.
But he's also, he's your captain in Loveland. He's your, if you absolutely have to, you can do it. I think there's a lot of value in having
there is
those veterans that are very comfortable in your organization that as a break glass in case of emergency guy in the NHL, you can get by with them. And so with Brad Hunt, I'm just like, as long as he wants to continue to play, he can be in my organization.
And he doesn't play one game, I'm okay with it. Because, just having that with the young guys coming in or for the coaching staff down there, Schneekloth and company, like, it's huge to have a guy like that because
a young coach in the AHL in Schneekloth, a guy like Brad Hunt is going to be invaluable to a development
very massive
organization. Like I want Brad Hunt in my organization, and if it's not Brad Hunt, then
but he's been here the last.
I don't
few
have
years,
a fake
so
Brad Hunt name.
Yeah, I know. I don't
off the top of my head.
That's why you keep him, unless he wants to retire, which I don't think he does, but maybe he does. I have no idea.
Keep him.
There are a couple other UFA names that no one cares about. Corey Schooneman, Nathan Clerman.
Those guys always get just cycled in and out. I'd love for Clerman to continue.
Just because he's been a Colorado kid.
He's a Colorado guy,
Yeah. And then Riley Tufte, which go.
Where's that guy in our chat that always comes in and all he ever says is, are the Avs going to re-sign Riley Tufte? Shout out to that guy.
I was a big Tufte fan. I loved the signing. They gave him a genuine opportunity. It didn't work. Move on. Cool.
I'm just saying, for all the times that people want to throw at me when I'm wrong about stuff, which is a lot, I was very correct on that.
Yeah. You can be right about Riley Tufte. I'll be right about the Florida Panthers. We'll call it a season.
I mean,
well, you're both right.
I feel good about this.
We are going to wrap up today's show. Before you go, though, we made a gigantic draft guide on the DNVR.com. 42 prospects, a lot of it through the lens of the Avalanche, so you can get a feel for what some of these guys might look like with the Avs picking at 24.
Yeah, and when the Avs pick somebody that's not in there at 24, no, they didn't. Just give us 5 minutes and it'll be in there, and we will just pretend it never happened.
Blink.
Either way, go check that out. Be sure to have it handy when we're doing our draft shows on Friday and Saturday. You can get some scouting reports on people while we talk about it live on the shows. So
yeah, while we're cooking.
Hopefully the Avs don't overcook as much as we're going to get overcooked during that pick, dude. We are out of here for today, though. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. We will be back tomorrow for one more show before the big draft show special stuff. So tune in then, and we'll talk to you on the next one.
We all silly like the mayor.